But when I look around, and I think things over, all of my good days outweigh my bad days. I don't compare. The clouds hang low. I can hardly see the road. I ask the question, Lord. Lord, why so this day? But He knows what's best for me. Although my weary eyes, they can't see, so I'll just say, thank you, Lord. I won't compare. But He is so good to me. He's been good to me. More than this world all you could ever be. He's been so good. But He knows what's best for me. Although my weary eyes, they can't see, so I'll just say, thank you, Lord. I won't compare. But He is so good to me. He's been good to me. More than this world all you could ever be. He's been so good. And try all not to live. My midnight went today. So I just say thank you, Lord. I've been down, but thank you, Lord. I've been talked about, thank you, Lord. I've been misunderstood, but thank you, Lord.
Good evening. Good evening, y'all. I ran home. I ran home. Do you hear me? Ran home immediately. Because I saw it on my screen. I said, "Is this a prank?" It was ABC News. I was at the Stock and Grain, and I was grabbing something to eat. I said, "I'm gonna grab me something to eat, and I'm gonna go home." Braxton's still with his dad. I'm going to binge watch not Game of Thrones, but whatever the sequel is to Game of Thrones that I've been watching. And I was going to take some time off of social media, and then I realized, baby girl, you have a job. And that is to be able to give people a platform to discuss things like this. So this is technically not social media. This is my podcast. I'm taking a break from social media just because the announcement of one of my subscribers, Julian Arsenault, there was a worksite accident. And unfortunately, he succumbed to his injuries. And that was announced yesterday on my live late at night. So I'm still dealing with that, but God help me, please. I did not need to see this, that President Biden will not seek re-election. I think what happened is, instead of focusing, this is the thing. Democrats don't like to play hardball. Democrats do not like to play hardball. So basically, when the Republicans throw down America's throat that President Biden is not fit for presidency, instead of the Democrats focusing on all the lies that Trump told and focusing on Trump falling asleep and him not being really fit to be president either as a convicted felon, they just kind of let that stuff roll. And I think it got to a point where you have Democratic strategists that literally they survey and they weren't getting good feedback, which is crazy because President Biden and President Trump, when we talk about their age, they're right around the same age. President Trump clearly has some psychological issues, which why he goes off into the deep end about various things. But we need to talk about this because the same folks that made President Biden step down, they are not confident in VP Harris. Because if you were, you would just go ahead and still let President Biden run. And then, I think it was bad on the Democratic strategist because his health, obviously it's old age, right? When you get older, you forget things. He already had a stutter before he was older. So he's been stuttering for quite some time. He's not a Barack Obama where he can just talk eloquently and, get his words across. So I just want to know your thoughts because I'm not, let me preface this live, right? Politics, it gets sticky, right? A lot of people don't like to talk about politics because it can turn into a shouting match. Difference of opinion is fine. If you are a Republican and you want to go that route with voting for Biden, or Trump, that's on you. But I just wanted to have a discussion, and I don't want for it to be one where it's like, oh, you're a Trumpster if you don't want to vote for Kamala Harris. I'm a realist, okay? White women wouldn't vote for Hillary. A white woman, they wouldn't vote for her. Do you think those same white women who refuse to vote for Hillary against their own interests, do you think they're going to vote for a black woman? And you know what? I'm just asking the question. I'm not going to say either which way. I'm just asking the question. Do you think that they would? If you think they would, then, hey, I want us to be real. I don't want to be unrealistic. Somebody in a chat said, well, you know what? Go ahead and let Kamala run. And if she loses, the Democrats will be able to move on from her in 2012. This is the problem that I see happening, right? The problem that I see happening is the folks who are adamant about Kamala being the president. And Trent says the argument should only be which white man will be Kamala's running mate. The issue of who should be the nominee should no longer be up for discussion. I'm sorry. I think we need to pick a whole new ticket. Sorry. And I'm going to read you Biden's statement because I don't think he said anything about coalescing around Kamala. I could be wrong because I didn't get to read all of it. I was rushing to get home, create this little thing on the side, right? People are saying it's too late. It really, I mean, I don't think it's too late. I think you don't have a choice. Do you want to win? It just depends. Let me go ahead and read this to you guys. And this is President Biden's statement. Folks are saying it's too late. Well, it should have. It's not too late. If it's not too late for him to step down, it's not too late to elect. See, you need to put against a old white man. You need to be putting a white man against a white man. Especially because Trump is so polarizing. So for me, I feel like, and it's just all in, do you want to win or do you want to allow Kamala the chance to be run for president, right? And then when you get the data from there, then we can stop. We'll just be preparing for 2012, which, by the way, I kind of feel like we're in the time of and that's kind of like a little bit overboard, but just the way that this thing is playing out, it's almost as if are we even going to have another president? Is this the last days? Are we here? That's where I'm at with everything. All right, so I'm getting ready to go ahead and read his statement, but that's where I really feel it's at. Like, a new ticket will have Black women staying home in droves. No, it won't. It will not. And you know what? I'm gonna tell you why. So do you want a ticket where white people stay home or white people vote for Trump? I think people are kind of like overextending. Yes, you need the Black vote, but you guys are forgetting that the majority of the folks in this country are white. You need the white vote before you need the Black vote, right? You need the liberal vote before you need anything else. You need the moderate vote before you need anything else. I have I just spoke with her on Friday. My daycare provider for my son. She's from Liberia originally. She came here about 35 years ago. And she was like, yeah, they are talking about Biden. There's nothing wrong with Biden. He just got old age. He just got old age. This is what she said, right? And I said, well, if he steps down, are you going to vote? And she said, no, I'm not going to vote. Kamala cannot win. Said Kamala can't win, right? This is an older. She is a citizen of the United States of America. She's an immigrant. But there's a lot of older Black women who have kind of like the same ideals as women, which is they don't feel like a woman can lead. There's a lot of older Black women who feel like this. I'm just saying. So you can't, and I'm also not saying that I wouldn't vote. We're not even going to talk about that, okay? You don't have to say whether or not you will or you won't vote for who you're going to vote for, right? We're just having an open discussion and an open dialogue. No right or wrong answer. And we're just talking. Right? That's all. We're just having a conversation about the climate of America and where we're at today. So President Biden said, "My fellow Americans, over the past 3.5 years, we have made great progress as a nation. Today, America has the strongest economy in the world. We've made historic investments in rebuilding our nation in prescription drug costs for seniors." Biden was crucial in making sure that insulin was affordable. And in expanding affordable health care to a record number of Americans. And I can speak to this. In North Carolina, they expanded affordable health care. Of course, our governor, Roy Cooper, is in North Carolina, who, by the way, I feel like Roy Cooper is an excellent running mate for Kamala. Old white guy in the state of North Carolina. He's been working with Republicans. He's had sometimes it's been some areas where he's not been successful. But what I'm saying is, I feel like Roy Cooper is the guy, right? If they got a whole brand new ticket, Roy Cooper would need to be on it. And I'm gonna pour a glass of wine. I'm sorry, y'all, but after that news of President Biden stepping down, and for me, the inevitable Trump, one glass of wine, red wine, even though it's blueberry, it's one glass. It's not gonna hurt. I usually only have a drink on Saturdays for Slack Saturday, but after this news, I'm gonna pour a glass of wine. We provided critically needed care to millions of veterans exposed to toxic substances, passed the first gun safety law in 30 years, appointed the first African-American woman to the Supreme Court, of course. And she has been, the Supreme Court, of course, we know it's turned upside down right now. But if you are able to read her opinions, absolutely amazing how she writes and how she goes through things, and she portrays like what her opinion is based off of originalism. So basically, she's using she's trying to interpret the Constitution at the time that it was made. And that's why when she was talking about affirmative action or anything dealing with the 13th, 14th, and 15th Amendment, a lot of those times she talks about how they were created for freedmen, which were the Black Americans who freed from slavery, that these particular amendments were created specifically for them as a remedy, right? So anything that is rooted in that should include race, meaning race should be taken into consideration because that's what it was created for. The 13th and 14th Amendment. Okay. President Biden said they passed the most significant climate legislation in the history of the world. America has never been better positioned to lead than we are today. I know none of this could have been done without you, the American people. Together, we overcome a once-in-a-century pandemic, the worst economic crisis since the Great Depression. We've protected and preserved our democracy, and we've revitalized and strengthened our alliances around the world. It has been the greatest honor of my life to serve as your president, and while it has been my intention to seek re-election, I believe it is in the best interest of my party and the country for me to stand down and focus solely on fulfilling my duties as president for the remainder of my term. I will speak to the nation later this week in more detail about my decision. For now, let me express my deepest gratitude to all those who worked so hard to see me reelected. I want to thank Vice President Kamala Harris for being an extraordinary partner in all this work. And let me express my heartfelt appreciation to the American people for the faith and trust you've placed in me. I believe today what I've always had, that there's nothing America can't do. When we do it together, we just have to remember we are the United States of America. Now, mind you, in this letter, he did not necessarily endorse. Okay, so somebody's telling me that he did endorse her shortly after. He endorses her on his X page shortly after the letter. For me, y'all have to excuse me. For me, I feel like he should have immediately endorsed her in that letter, right? When you talk about how powerful this letter is, the omission of I support my vice president. I know that she can lead this country. That missing, this is missing, a vital missing piece in this letter. And as Brianna says, if she wins, the country's still gonna be a shit show. Trent, he should have put it in the letter. Do you know this letter was probably written 3 days ago? That's one of those. Oh, and P.S. I endorse President Kamala or Vice President Kamala Harris. Come on, y'all. Come on, think. Please think. Think. This letter was written days ago. And there's strategists that are handling this. And Republicans are already turning this into a shit show by saying, you voted for President Biden in the primaries. You didn't vote for her. This letter has been written. I'm sorry. And you know what? Let's just keep it a buck. President Biden didn't write this letter. Somebody else wrote it. And guess what? They wrote it with the intentional omission of passing that baton. It's kind of like when they pit black against black. Do you guys remember? You have to think like Republicans. Do you remember when they had in Georgia, they put, and my mind is so blank right now. I can see him right now with his box cut and his CTE and barely can talk. They put him against the Democratic senator. Y'all tell me his name because I'm blank right now. Yes, Herschel Walker. You see how they put Herschel Walker, and he almost won. She released a statement. Okay, I need to go and read that. Goodness gracious. You guys, I'm kind of like all over the place right now because this, okay. Okay. I'm supposed to be taking a break off of social media, but I got it, you guys. All right. I'm going to pull up the immediate announcement where he says, my fellow Democrats, I have decided not to accept the nomination and to focus all of my energies on my duties as president for the remainder of my term. My very first decision as the party nominee in 2020 was to pick Kamala Harris as my vice president. And it's been the best decision I've made. Today, I want to offer my full support and endorsement for Kamala to be the nominee of our party this year. Democrats, it's time to come together and beat Trump. Let's do this. Okay. So he did endorse her. He did endorse her, so that's good. Okay. It says if they don't nominate her, the whole campaign endorsement funds will have to be returned, plus removing all campaign offices as well. KS starting from scratch, no funds nor campaign offices. Wow. And let me get Madam President. Let me take myself off the screen, honey. Good Lord. Yeah, I'm good. Okay. I just want folks to be, if we're going to be one thing in this world, let's be effing for real. Come on, y'all. Think. God, please help me. Okay, we're going to do this. I'm going to vote for President Kamala. I'm going to vote for the vice president, but I want us to be, in everything that we do, I want us to be real. I don't see her statement. Where do you see her statement at? I don't see it. I don't see Vice President Kamala Harris's statement. Okay, so then get Mike Pence, okay? But let's just keep it above. They was asking for his head. Oh, God. ABC read it just minutes ago. Okay. Well, let me get this statement from Vice President Kamala Harris. I'm just telling you what that 65-year-old Black, well, she's African woman who is a immigrant that came 35 years ago. And I'm just telling you what she said. And they are getting ready to go through every single thing that she's ever done. Kamala, I'm sorry. Ooh, Whitley, you said that loud part out loud. You said the quiet part out loud. You know what's crazy? And this is the thing, that upsets me, is that sometimes Democrats don't like to fight like they should, right? They do not like to fight like Republicans are dirty. If you don't think that they're going to be highlighting how Kamala Harris used to put Black men in prison in California, meanwhile, Trump wouldn't let you live in his building. Like, it's not odd. It's just how it is. Some Black men do not like to. God, please. Please. All right. Maybe Kamala should disavow saying that she's a Black woman. Can she take that back? Can we do a take backsies? So that she can run on being a Asian Pacific Indian or something. I don't know. President Biden handed Vice President Kamala Harris the baton as he stepped out of the presidential race on Sunday, putting her in pole position for the Democratic nomination. Why it matters? Why couldn't Biden, but folks said, I don't care if Biden's dead, I'm voting for Biden. Why couldn't they just let that man run? Why did you make him step down? Whose idea was that to make him step down? You could have just had him on his deathbed getting sworn in at this point. Her mother is Asian and her daddy is Jamaican, right? Pete Buttigieg. Or is it Buttigieg? What's his name? Her daddy is Jamaican. That's what I thought. And we ain't talking about American Jamaican either, but that's a different story. Oh, God. So for me, Vice President Harris had Sexy Red playing in the White House a couple of weeks ago, pandering to black folks. It wasn't her that did it, right? It was the people that basically plan stuff. Were those the black men that are not voting for her, were they really ever voting anyway? Only 7 states matter in November. What 7 states, Israel? Oh. Well, phonetically, she looks black. What are the 7 states that matter? What? An all-woman ticket? Are you guys crazy? Who made this up? Where's my how we gonna fix it? Because that's how I feel right now. I might start crying like her for real. But
Made a big time, Willie. 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 He gone, Willie. He made a big time, Willie. Willie.
no, the black men that be like, I'm voting for this and I'm voting. Them Negroes do not be voting. Go look at their voting record. They haven't voted in years. So please stop. Douglas McGregor. Let's look up. All right, y'all. Okay, so I'm gonna pull up these people that you guys are saying so I can read and see what they look like. Oh, I like Douglas McGregor already. American retired colonel, you got me sold. Point him out. Point him out. Let's look at Douglas McGregor. Oh, he looks like the perfect type of white guy. The perfect type of white guy. Old and white. Old and white. Okay, let's see this. It says Douglas Abbott McGregor. He's born in 1947. Born before the Civil Rights era. He was around. Let me stop. He's an American retired colonel, government official, author, consultant, and political commentator. McGregor was a leader in an early tank battle in the Gulf War. Okay. And was a top planner in the 1999 NATO bombing of Yugoslavia. His 1997 book, Breaking the Phalanx, argued for radical reforms inside the United States Army. I don't know how military is gonna I don't know what that book is about, but I know military is real, like they don't like for things to be exposed about them. Oh, it says after leaving the military in 2004, McGregor became more politically active. In 2020, President Donald Trump proposed him as the U.S. ambassador to Germany, but the U.S. Senate blocked the nomination. On November 11, 2020, a Pentagon spokesperson announced that McGregor had been hired to serve as a senior advisor to the acting Secretary of Defense, a post he held for less than 3 months. Trump also appointed him to the board of the U.S. Military Academy, but the appointment was terminated by President Joe Biden in 2021. McGregor has contributed to Fox News and has appeared on the Russian state-funded channel. Girl, what you saying Douglas's name for? He's from Philly. He's from Philly. His commentary has been noted for disparaging Ukraine, immigrants, and refugees. That's just what America wants to hear. They don't want to support Ukraine. They don't really like immigrants. Y'all bringing in too many refugees. Is this who she needs to get? Is this who she needs? Jerome, ain't no black women voted for Trump. They just didn't vote. You know what? I'm just gonna be honest with you. When Hillary was going around against Trump, I did not vote for Hillary. I voted for my local elections and everybody else underneath the ticket. I did not vote for Hillary. Why did I not vote for Hillary? Because I didn't like how she did Obama when she was running against him. Her use of racial undertones and underhandedness, playing into the stereotypes that some people already have in their head about black people, trying to trigger that subconscious. She would make remarks. I didn't like that at all, so I did not vote for her. I'm not the reason why she lost, though. The white women are the reason why she lost, but I didn't vote for her. I just couldn't, because it's kind of like I didn't forget, right? But I absolutely participated, and I can show you I absolutely participated in the election. I remember I voted for Bernie Sanders in the primaries. I went to a Bernie Sanders I don't know what that was. He was talking. I guess it was a campaign run during the primaries in North Carolina. Marvin, can you please stop talking about immigrants working on farms when they're sending them to Chicago and to New York? Guard the Yard chat, can somebody please copy and paste what Dr. Umar was saying about black jobs? They're not dropping them in the South. If you were saying that the immigrants were in the South, then I would, or in Florida somewhere, I'd be right there with you, Marvin. But those immigrants are being dropped off in New York City and in Chicago. There's no farms over in those places. Have you not noticed that? Do you not know by now that Trump is a liar and that he didn't even want to give you that $1,200? I think folks really think that Trump was the reason why y'all got that $1,200, and it's not. And I'm not trying to step on nobody's toes, but how broke do you have to be to hope that you get another $1,200 from the president? You're going to vote for him just for $1,200. All right. Okay, so did somebody else name another person we can look up? I like this guy. You can tell he's probably racist, but just like President Trump, he'll be a Democrat because, President Trump used to be a Democrat. Y'all do know that, right? He used to be in New York with all the Dems. Let's look up Pete Buttigieg. Right. Ain't no more stimulus coming. I like Buttigieg. He was up in Jackson. Oh, he's a former naval officer. I like Buttigieg. Listen, whoever Kamala gets, gotta have military experience.
How do you make him go on that black side?
Mr. Walker.
Miss SheLovesThee, Timona, how are you?
I'm okay. I'm a little bit frazzled by this announcement, but
I think we all are.
I'm so happy that you came up to talk a little bit about the status of our great nation, right?
Absolutely. And, my fingers just don't type fast enough to keep up with everything in the chat. So I just figured I would come up to say what I had to say because I've been kind of following this all day. And I am very much on the record as being a supporter of Biden and Harris and the Biden-Harris ticket. Having said that, since that is a thing of the past, and if you check my Twitter timeline, I put in a thread this morning where I essentially said, if the Democratic Party, and in particular the elites who worked so hard to push Joe Biden out of this race, if they then turn around and try to put anybody in whose name is not Kamala Harris, then that will be an unmitigated disaster. That will be a major fuck around and find out moment for the Democratic Party as it goes with Black women who are the backbone of this party and who are largely responsible for the fact that Biden and Harris won in 2020. And if they decide that okay, well, we want to have an open convention and then undermine Kamala Harris the same way that they undermine Joe Biden, then they will get exactly what they deserve, because Joe Biden didn't deserve what he got from the Democratic Party. So they will get what they deserve if they push Kamala Harris out in favor of anybody else.
So my question is, even if because if it was on the Republicans, they would do that, which is if Trump was dying but he was still alive, and he had if he had 3 months to live past November, they would never ever take him off of the ticket.
They would
Why
not.
Would they allow President Biden to continue in the race?
Because they're not like us. To quote Kendrick, at a bottom line, the first thing that Democrats are best at is worrying and wringing their hands and saying, well, what if? And the other thing, Democrats don't realize and have not realized that we've been at war with the Republican Party since at least 1992, if not prior to that. Certainly since Newt Gingrich was Speaker of the House. And I'm 55 years old, so I have a bit of a historical memory that a lot of people don't have, just because I was alive and I've been voting since 86. So
when you say that's Clinton, 92 is what? Clinton?
Clinton. That was the Clinton-Bush years. If you will recall, the way that they scandalized Clinton's name, not that he didn't do some things that were scandalous, but even before anybody knew about Clinton and the White House intern, the way that they scandalized Clinton's name when he ran for president in 92 should have put everybody on notice that the Republicans were at war with the Democrats, and the Democrats just realized it when Trump got elected. Before then, they've acted like it's a fair playing field, when in point of fact, the Republicans have demonstrated a long time ago that all they care about is winning so that they can implement their preferred policies. Democrats are the only ones who are burdened with rules and the way that things have traditionally been done. I mean, look at the way when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, look at how they stole that seat. Mitch McConnell and the Republicans stole that seat and held it open. Not that Merrick Garland has been a great attorney general, but he was supposed to be on the Supreme Court. They refused to even take up a vote when Scalia died and held that seat open until after the election. And then when Ruth Bader Ginsburg died, with, I believe, less than 3 months before the election, they pushed through Amy Coney Barrett and said, rules and tradition be damned. We're going to make sure that we get this Supreme Court seat before this election. And Democrats, we still wring our hands and talk about what's fair and what the rules say and so forth. You know, when I was in junior high, I saw a T-shirt that said, if you're losing the game, change the rules. I was in junior high school, and that's what they do. We are the only ones who sit around and say, well, the rules say you're supposed to do this. And, you know, clearly everybody, you know, this is mostly a sports show. You know, when you're being worked by the refs, and the Republicans have been working the refs and working the game for at least the last 50 years.
I mean, we're talking about a convicted felon here. I just want to lay that out on the table.
Look, you are singing to the choir. I don't understand why you can't vote if you're a felon, but you can run for president and be a convicted felon. You know, what people need to realize, the presidency and the Constitution, as we currently understand it, not when it was first passed, when we know Black people weren't citizens at all, and you got in the South a 60% bump for the slaves that you own.
3/5 and the 3/5 compromise.
That's right. You know, but that was passed because there weren't very many white people living in the South. And they knew that the North, where slavery was not popular, would overrun them. And so the only way that they would support the Constitution was the 3/5 compromise. So we have to go back to that. Women couldn't vote, period. Women themselves were actually property of their husband, whether or not they were slaves. But if you were a woman, everything you owned belonged to your husband. You know, you had no say in anything. And so you really have to go back to that. So, but to my earlier point, this is a soft, this is a political war. We'll say that. You know, it at this point does not involve guns or violence between Democrats and Republicans, but the Democrats need to understand that they have not been playing by the same rules that the Republicans have been playing by, and the Republicans have been playing in our faces and taking advantage of us for decades.
So they coalesced around VP Kamala Harris. What does her running mate need to look like?
I'm going to go on record and saying it needs to be a white male, because part of the problem, the whole reason, I will go back and say the whole reason with the reason that they were saying that Joe is old is because his running mate was a Black woman. So because what you have, let me answer your question first. It has to be a white male, or otherwise a lot of these same white liberal Democrats who got on and pushed Joe out, because that's who it was. Because I'm as politically active as anybody, and I have my ears open. I haven't heard one Black person that I'm familiar with say, oh, Joe needs to step down. It is telling that the Congressional Black Caucus, not one person. I think Cori Bush said she was getting a bunch of calls to her office saying that Joe Biden should step down, but not one member of the Congressional Black Caucus came out and said that Joe Biden should step down. And I think that's very telling, you know. And then D.L. Hewley said on his podcast the other day, or on his show, you know, getting Black people to answer a number that they don't recognize on their phones to take a poll is an impossibility. So I don't think the pollsters were asking Black people.
I did get a text message from somebody, but they were asking me, on a scale of 1 to 10, how much do you like Trump or something like that.
Okay.
I didn't answer, but
So you get my point.
but you know what? I am a political science major. I only have I don't have a semester to go. I have one class to take. And they talked about the voting trends of African Americans. And one thing that they've said is, and these are Black Americans, is that historically and overwhelmingly we vote Democratic, right? And
We
we're
do.
talking about 80% or better are voting, or
88 the last
85,
election.
right? So it's 88, but the Republicans are playing this little mind game that tries to get people to say that's not happening this year. Blacks aren't voting, da 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 da. And it's like, historically, regardless of if we're in a recession, we're doing good, we're doing bad, we're not getting legislation. They do pass some type of legislation. Black people have like a group think when it comes to voting. And sometimes the people that they push forward to speak on our behalf are not people who vote anyway. Like I think at Netta or Sexy Red or
Charlemagne the God.
They'll get these people who either they probably don't, they more than likely they don't vote anyway.
Correct.
But they'll still utilize them as a mechanism, and then just President Trump playing in our face with these weird shoes or, just doing weird stuff.
Or saying that we can identify with him because he's been accused of a crime, as if Black people are all criminals,
innately
or we all have
criminal,
some familiarity
right,
with the criminal justice system. So now that he's been charged with a crime or convicted of a crime, now we can identify him with him. And I'm like, man, get the hell out of my face with that.
Oh my God. It's they, like I said, just playing in our faces, right?
Yes, that's exactly what they're doing.
Okay, so I'm going to actually, I guess that is a good idea. I can do a poll, which basically asks, like, he stepped down now. So now that President Biden has stepped down, will you vote for VP Kamala Harris as your president? Because he stepped down.
Wait, how do you do that?
I don't know. The same people who pushed him out, they're trying to do what Republicans do, but they're doing it to their own people. You know what I'm saying?
Correct. This cannibalization, self-immolation, whatever term you want to use for it, circular firing squad. But having said that, it's a done deal at this point. So the question is, what's next?
So when I think about if you are going to have Kamala at the top, whoever you have has to be white male over, I would say moderate, almost damn near moderate, damn near kind of conservative, right? Because
I don't think that he has to be conservative.
Moderate,
that's kind of a relative term. The country is so polarized at this point that you probably don't have a lot of moderates left in either party. If you're referring to, say, Joe Manchin as a moderate, I would say that Joe Manchin was barely a Democrat, and he finally just went on and became an independent. So, when you say a moderate, then really it just depends on how you define that particular term.
What I'm saying is so there's a lot of Republicans who said, I don't care if President Biden's dead, I'm voting for him, right?
Mm-hmm.
But an old white man can still see an old white man. You know what I'm saying? Because at the end of the day, they're both old white men. Can an old white man who's a Republican see that I'm going to pick a Black woman over Trump? I'm just not going to vote at all.
Well, what you got to realize is that in 2020, regardless of age, 57 or 58% of white people voted Republican one way, or voted for Trump one way or the other. So, when you say, to me, other than an interest in Medicare and Social Security, older white people have been voting Republican in the first place. And so that's not necessarily who I would be trying to attract. I would be looking at younger white women and saying your reproductive rights have already been curtailed. What else? And they're not going to stop. You can't go to a doctor if you need an abortion, or or something. As somebody who has had to go through a spouse who had to have a DNC, and you can't get a DNC because at the point in time you get the DNC, the fetus is not viable. So if it were me, I would be talking to younger white women and saying, you all are who we need to make sure is on this board, who's on this train, because older white people made their decision a long time ago, if you ask me. So, the most reliable cohort of the Republican Party and for Donald Trump is older white people. So going and saying I'm going to get an older white man, I don't get. The only person I would say that I definitely don't think that she should pick, even though I don't have a personal problem with him and I agree with his politics, is Pete Buttigieg. Because Pete Buttigieg is gay. You already dealing with a black woman, and you're gonna put a gay white man on top of there. That definitely is a non-starter. I mean, it is what it is.
Right. It is what it is.
You would think that
I didn't want to say that earlier. I didn't want to.
Well, somebody got to say it.
I didn't want to say Pete Buttigieg. I was like, okay, he came to Jackson. He was in Jackson for the highway, for the Medgar Evers Highway. But why does he sound so familiar? I was like,
because he's the Secretary of Transportation.
I know he's that, but I was like, is he the one that's married to a man?
Yes, he is. Yes, that is exactly why. He's openly gay, and that is.
I mean, there is a strong base for the gays, and they got a lot of money.
I don't disagree with that, but money in and of itself does not necessarily vote. And the Republicans, for the last 40, ever since they actually passed the civil, when the switch, because Republicans are always playing in our faces talking about Lincoln freed the slaves and look what the Republican Party has done, and the Democrats were anti-civil rights and so forth. When the switch came about, 1964, civil rights, when the Civil Rights Act and Voting Rights Act were passed, particularly in the South, people who had voted Democrat started slowly moving over and started voting Republican. 1964, 68, when Nixon was running, talking about the Law and Order campaign, he was running an explicitly anti-black and, for that time, anti-hippie campaign. Same thing in 72. It's always been, the switch came in 1964. By 1980, when Reagan became the president, then the switch from Democrat to Republican among white people was very well underway. Very well underway in 1980. I still remember I was 10 years old, and it was, I believe, 79 or 80, and they had in Rankin County, where I'm from, they had the local county Democratic organizing for the upcoming election, and the black people in Rankin County had gotten together and showed up at the courthouse to the Democratic caucus, the county Democratic caucus. And I distinctly remember white people in that room getting up, going out, getting on the phone, trying to call their friends, because they had always just done what they wanted to do.
Right.
and nominated who they wanted to nominate, elected their delegates. When black people showed up, they got up, they were out, they were on the payphone saying, can you tell such and such he needs to come up here? But the fact of the matter, in Rankin County, black people took over the Democratic caucus in 1980, and white people started voting Republican.
And then I think it's interesting. I'm going to read these stats for you, right? Because I think it's important to put these key facts out here about the eligible voters. I will say this. Asian Americans and Latinos do not vote at the same level as black people.
Okay.
Especially Asians. They're not as involved or feel the need to come out and vote. They just don't. So it says black eligible voter population in the U.S. is projected to reach 34.4 million in 2024, up 7% from 2020. So the black vote, Hispanic is 36,200,000. So that's up 12%. Black people are 34,450,000, up 7%. Asian population is 15 million, which is up 15%. In 2020, 92% of single race black non-Hispanic voters cast a vote for Democratic Joe Biden, while only 8% backed Republican Donald Trump, according to a Pew Research Center analysis of validated voters. Ahead of the 2024 presidential election, here are 5 key facts about black eligible voters in the U.S. They're projected to account for 14% of eligible voters in November, which that's up. As of 2022, about half of black eligible voters live in one of the 8 states. Texas, with 2.9 million, which we all know that's a red state. So you might as well just go ahead and mark that off. Georgia and Florida, 2.6 million each. Florida is a red state. Georgia was turning kind of purple, right?
Was.
I think it started turning back red. It was turning purple. It was turning purple. Rounding out the top 8 are New York, which New York is normally Democratic. California normally goes Democratic. North Carolina is purple, right?
Yes.
Maryland is blue. Is Illinois blue or red?
Illinois is blue.
Okay. So Maryland and Illinois are both blue. Out of the 8 states that I see is North Carolina and Georgia are the 2 states that are purple. It says together these states account for 52% of black eligible voters in the 50 states and the District of Columbia. So when I look at those type of things, I also look at the state of North Carolina politics and what are some of the things that they're implementing here. And some of the things that they're doing in the state of North Carolina, of course, we have our voter ID law that exists in North Carolina. But one thing that they're trying to do is they're trying to make student IDs ineligible, which a student ID is a state ID. Like it's literally
because they don't want young people voting.
So one way that they've done that is they've attacked the ability for students to use their state-issued ID by a state public institution. Another thing that they've done, North Carolina or Greensboro is a very heavily county, Black American county, right? And yes. North Carolina A&T is one of the biggest voting polls. I want to say they split the school in half. for which voting poll they'll go. They just do all type of stuff. Another thing North Carolina is doing is changing the districts. When I was in school, of course, we talked about one of the biggest Supreme Court decisions, which was North Carolina drawing maps and carving it out to basically keep Black voters in one section instead of splitting it, which would make us have more than one Black representative. It's a lot.
And which, again, the Republicans have been fighting this war on so many fronts, and the Democrats have not realized that they're at war.
I think they have realized it.
They don't act like it.
The Republicans play hardball, right?
Well, that's the point I'm trying to make.
If you're a felon, you can't vote. Oh, but our president, he's a felon, yeah, but he can still run for president. Like, the rules don't apply to the Republicans. President Clinton, oh, you're so nasty. You messed with the intern and lied about it. President Trump paid off a lady of the night.
Among other things that he's done.
And oh, okay, he's still our president. Like, it does not apply.
What is amazing to me when we get into this talk, and again, is water under the bridge since Biden said he was going to step down. But we get into this talk about Biden and his age, and we never get into a discussion about the innumerable faults that Donald Trump has, because paying the porn star off isn't his only sexual dilly-dallying that he's ever done, going back to the Epstein stuff from the 80s and 90s. So we give President Trump a free pass about things. And, when Obama was the president, they tried to make a scandal out of the fact that Michelle Obama wore sleeveless dresses and he wore a tan suit. Those were the
kind of things that they would attack the
Obama, it's like, oh my God, right? What a scandal. So, but nonetheless, you get this dude in here who, has no morals whatsoever that any of us are able to speak of. This man
was attracted to his own daughter. Like, come on.
I was just about to say that. This man was on a live camera saying if this wasn't his daughter, he'd be dating her, which is something that there are just dozens of things that he said that would have ended the candidacy for dog catcher of practically anybody else. Mm-hmm. And he's gotten a free pass for everything, just like he's gotten a free pass for everything his whole life.
Well, one thing that I do think is that his running mate of choice didn't necessarily energize the Republican base, right? It wasn't somebody that they were thrilled about. So that was good to hear, right? Somebody with no experience, like who is?
They don't care.
They don't even care about that either.
No, he could have chosen his pet as his running mate, and they don't blink an eye. It's just like Trump is our guy, and this is the problem that I had. Democrats couldn't just say Biden is our guy. I don't care if he suffers a massive stroke and can't talk at all.
Right, which is what
he's our guy.
Okay.
And then
because my last question is, were they doing that because they were scared of Kamala?
Yes.
Okay, so then how is she going to be running for president if they're scared of Kamala?
Sometimes you get what you ask for. Sometimes you get what you ask for. What you asked for was for Biden to step down because you didn't want a Black woman to be president. Now, what are your options? Because you can vote for Trump and get all the policies that you claim you never wanted. Or you can vote for Kamala Harris, who I will go on radio. She's going to get the nomination. There are some of these same people already coming out in support of her. But So she's going to get the nomination. So you can vote for the black woman that you didn't want, or you can vote for Trump and get everything that you got in 2016, 2020, but worse, because he won't even start out with people who pretend to be trying to keep the guardrails on this time.
He's going to be like, I pardon all the January 6th people.
And the Supreme Court's already said it's okay. Whatever he does, he's the president. Supreme Court's already said that. So, he can do whatever he wants. He can pardon all the people from January 6th that he's calling political prisoners when they were a bunch of thugs tearing up the Capitol. So
I would endorse a Roy Cooper ticket. Kamala Harris and Roy Cooper. They texting asking for donations.
They should.
Y'all gonna need it, right?
Look, never let a crisis go to waste.
I mean, this is a different type of crisis, though, right?
No, this is a crisis of the Democrats' own making, because Republicans are at peace with Donald Trump with his many flaws. They're at peace with the felony convictions. They're at peace with January 6th. After January 6th, you couldn't beat Republicans coming to a microphone saying, okay, this is just too far and this is too much and he's to blame and he has to go. That lasted about 48 hours. When they saw where the base of their party was, they all got in line and said, well, maybe it wasn't so bad. And that's where they've been ever since. If the insurrection happened on January 6th, by January the 8th, all of those Republicans who were saying that he had just gone too far and this was all his fault, within 48 hours, they were back in line.
They got that phone call.
They got that, whatever they got. Probably their phones blew up from their constituents saying, if you want your office next time, then you're going to back Trump up. And that's the thing. When I say the Democrats don't play hardball, then that's what they should have been doing. It's saying anybody that comes out and says anything against Joe Biden, just watch and see, don't you have an opponent with money next time? That's what should have happened, but it didn't. So where we are is, and I will go with what I started with. If they try to come with anybody other than Kamala Harris, I can promise you black people and particularly black women ain't going for it. Because we're the reason that Joe Biden won in the first place. And this will be playing in our face one time too many. Now, I'm not a black woman, but I think I can say that safely. This will be playing in our face one time too many.
Well, I guess we're going to see in the coming days how it develops. I'll be watching because I just want to know what do the like you said, the high rollers, the people with a lot of influence, what are they saying? I want to know what those backroom discussions are. The Democratic convention, I want to say it's on the 30th.
It's like 2 weeks.
31st?
I think it's about 2 weeks away. I don't know the exact date.
It's in Chicago.
Mm-hmm.
Chicago. Oh, it's not scheduled to be held until August. They need to push it back up. August 19th.
Oh, wow. That's a month.
It's scheduled to be held August 19th to the 22nd. That's really a long time.
It is, but you get essentially, 28 days for them to get it together. 29 days for them to get it together. Because I don't think that you need to come into the convention saying we don't know who the nominee is going to be. I think that the consensus needs to have developed by that time. The machine needs to have been well oiled in the next 29 days, because you need to come out of that convention without anybody being bruised or battered. And you got your wish. You got Joe Biden out of the race. He endorsed Kamala Harris. Several other people have endorsed Kamala Harris. I think at this time, it's the only way to go. And it's certainly the only way to go if you hope that you're going to keep black women on board or black people in general on board.
Well, I'm gonna say right now, I'm not necessarily optimistic about the optics, just because of how President Biden was forced to basically resign.
I agree.
I don't like the optics of it because, like people were saying, like, I don't care if he's walking dead, I'm gonna vote for Biden. But I do feel like this changes things. It changes the dynamics of things. It changes because the Republicans are turning it around and saying, well, hey, wasn't it your will that Biden be elected? They're not respecting your wishes. Like, they're already turning it against and using it as fuel, adding fuel to the fire.
Well, the Republicans were going to do that anyway. You know, it doesn't matter. Whichever, it's like something we learned while we were pledging. Whatever you do is going to be wrong one way or the other, as far as the big brothers are concerned. But, the Republicans, you weren't going to catch a break for them. What I'm going to be curious about is all these people who claim to be never Trumpers and independents who were on record as saying that neither Biden nor Trump are fit for the presidency, that they were both unfit. Okay, well, now that one of the people that you claim was unfit is out of the race, now what are you going to do?
Trump needs to, there's something wrong with him too. I'm talking about he has some mental impairments himself, right?
That is its
you know
own
what?
show, because
Even if
Hannibal Lecter,
they could have just had him not. They could have just said he had COVID the week that he needed to do the speech. Don't let him get up there and do a speech.
They
for
could
an
have
hour
said
and a
that he
half.
had an earache.
He didn't
And
have to do that speech.
But, the speech was not going to matter because it was a horrendously bad speech. It was a terrible speech. You get up here, you're accepting the nomination of your party for the presidency of the United States, and you get up here and start talking about Hannibal Lecter like he's a real person. I mean,
he sounded he sounded mentally impaired himself.
Here's the Republican Party has been great at projecting its own weaknesses onto the Democratic Party, and the Democratic Party just accepts it. But you talk about somebody whose cheese has slipped off the cracker. This dude, he is
He's
out
not
there.
rocking with a full deck. He's not.
He has not been rocking with a full deck in a long time. But we got
this
on
is
to
who
this
we're
thing.
supposed to have the nuclear codes. We're supposed to give it to him.
Oh no, give them back to him. Hey, you were lucky to get them away from him the first time. You're supposed to give them back. So, like I said, his cheese slipped off the cracker a long time ago. So, look, I'm sure somebody other than me probably wants to say something. I'm gonna go back to listening at this point. And
thank you so much for coming on, Attorney Walker. It was great talking to you and having this dialogue.
I agree. I enjoyed it myself, and I will just go back to being a listener at this point. I'm not trying to hog your whole show.
Okay, thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
I would love to hear from a Republican. I would love to hear from a Black Republican. Listen, you guys, this is unprecedented. I'm gonna try to see if I can find some more information. People are saying Michelle Obama. Who are they saying hell no to? Lord have mercy. Oh God. Okay. I'm going to read a statement from Bill Clinton. Very, very important. Very important statement from President Clinton. It says, I'm going to actually, let me save this and put this across the screen so that you guys can see it. So, I mean, these are the type of people that immediately have to fall in line, right? And then you just continue to get them to fall in line. Statement from President Clinton and Secretary Clinton. President Biden has capped his extraordinary career of service with a presidency that has lifted America out of an unprecedented pandemic, created millions of new jobs, rebuilt a battered economy, strengthened our democracy, and restored our standing in the world. By any measure, he has advanced our founders' charge to build a more perfect union and his own stated goal of restoring the soul of our nation. We join millions of Americans in thanking President Biden for all he has accomplished, standing up for America time and again, with his North Star always being what's best for the country. We are honored to join the president in endorsing Vice President Harris, and will do whatever we can to support her. We've lived through many ups and downs, but nothing has made us more worried for our country than the threat posed by a second Trump term. He has promised to be a dictator on day one, and the recent ruling by his servile Supreme Court will only embolden him to further shred the Constitution. Now is the time to support Kamala Harris and fight with everything we've got to elect her. America's future depends on it. So this is coming from Bill Clinton and Secretary Clinton. That was an immediate statement that was put out. I'm going to read President Obama's statement. He says, Joe Biden has been one of America's most consequential presidents, as well as a dear friend and partner to me. Today, we've also been reminded again that he's a patriot of the highest order. Let me see. Put this across the screen for you guys. So you guys can see it. I'm getting ready to read Obama's statement. This was posted an hour ago. "16 years ago, when I began my search for a vice president, I knew about Joe's remarkable career in public service. But what I came to admire even more was his character, his deep empathy and hard-earned resilience, his fundamental decency and belief that everyone counts. Since taking office, President Biden has displayed the character again and again. He helped end the pandemic, created millions of jobs, lowered the cost of prescription drugs, passed the first major piece of gun safety legislation in 30 years, made the biggest investment to address climate change in history, and fought to ensure the rights of working people to organize for fair wages and benefits. Internationally, he restored America's standing in the world, revitalizing NATO, and mobilized the world to stand up against Russian aggression in Ukraine. More than that, President Biden pointed us away from the 4 years of chaos, falsehood, and division that had characterized Donald Trump's administration. Through his policies and his example, Joe has reminded us of who we are at our best. A country committed to old-fashioned values like trust and honesty, kindness and hard work, a country that believes in democracy, rule of law, and accountability, a country that insists that everyone, no matter who they are, has a voice and deserves a chance at a better life. The outstanding track record gave President Biden every right to run for re-election and finish the job he started. Joe understands better than anyone the stake in this election, how everything he has fought for throughout his life and everything that the Democratic Party stands for will be at risk if we allow Donald Trump back in the White House and give Republicans control of Congress. I also know Joe has never backed down from a fight. For him to look at the political landscape and decide that he should pass the torch to a new nominee is surely one of the toughest in his life. But I know he wouldn't make this decision unless he believed it was right for America. It's a testament to Joe Biden's love of country and a historic example of a genuine public servant, once again putting the interests of the American people ahead of his own, that future generations or leaders will do well to follow. We will be navigating uncharted waters in the days ahead, but I have extraordinary confidence that the leaders of our party will be able to create a process from which an outstanding nominee emerges. I believe that Joe Biden's visions of a generous, prosperous, and united America that provides opportunity for everyone will be on full display at the Democratic National Convention in August. And I expect that every single one of us are prepared to carry that message of hope and progress forward into November and beyond. For now, Michelle and I want to express our love and gratitude to Joe and Jill for leading us so ably and courageously during these perilous times, and for their commitment to the ideals of freedom and equality that this country was founded on. So, there's some things missing in here, and obviously that is the endorsement of VP Kamala Harris. This was posted an hour ago. I don't know if this was already written, right? I think that this particular statement might have been written. I think everybody already knew this, because I think what I want to say, I posted something on Twitter 2 to 3 days ago, was like, is this real? Can this really happen? So, yeah. Wondering who else. Mm-mm. I don't know, y'all. What do you guys think about the lack of immediately endorsing? You trying to put your wife up as president? You want to get back in the White House, President Obama? I know, right? Thank you for reminding me. I'm going to have the apartment people come and change it. Because they actually did give me some V8 batteries, or not the square looking batteries. But I'm not getting ready to get on the chair and bust my ass trying to disconnect it and connect it. Y'all can come over here and change it. Joe Biden was forced out. I hope they have a plan, because ain't no way in hell I would have rocked. When Biden said he had COVID, I don't care. I would have rocked with Biden on his deathbed. He would have been elected. And I would have gotten somebody who looks like Biden to accept the nominee. Gavin Newsom is the only chance. Gavin Newsom. Is that California's? Even the people in California do not like him. California folks do not like, even California folks don't like Gavin Newsom. Do you want us to lose California for the first time in history? Some folks don't even like him. They say California is a shit show. Excuse my language. Biden has more than COVID going on. They're just not going to tell us. It says Obama's trying to do another person, not Michelle. He started this when George Croney started not giving donations anymore after talking to Obama. They despise Kamala. What? Is this tea? Some folks don't give a damn about the country. They just want what they want. They don't care if the whole country burns in hell. You're going to panic once you see these high-level Democrats trying to leave the country. Where are they going? I'm sorry. I'm not trying to be funny. Like, some of these places are nice to go on vacation, nice to visit, but I love living in America and all of its problems that they have. I wouldn't probably be able to live anywhere with I got my shoulders out. That's probably not legal in most countries. You can't have two people from the same state of the ticket. You have to balance the ticket geographically. Remember, it's the Electoral College. She already has the California delegates. I don't care if Biden is dying. They should have just. Do you know that they have stunt doubles? I know people think it's a conspiracy, but it really is true. Like, there's people who are stunt doubles for the presidents, right? I would have just, baby, he could have been a corpse. I would have had him sitting in a chair. Somebody can just see the back of it. Like, oh, he was over there at the White House. He's wearing sunglasses because his eyes hurt. Man, I would have been taking stunt double applications. Do you hear me? We would have pre-recorded what he was supposed to say and would have been playing it. Okay, y'all. The media is very like, because I'm gonna tell you right now, that's all my grandma does is watch the news. I'm talking about my grandma. She's 97 years old. She'll be 98 on August 11th. My birthday's on the 14th. You know, that's all them older folks do is literally watch the news. It doesn't matter if it's Fox News, CNN, MSNBC. They all were talking about Biden's health, right? Declining health, while not talking about Trump being manic, because the type of behavior he displays is manic at times. Shh, you darn right, Gina. Propped up like a HOV dummy. Okay, he'll be. Yeah, we seen him. Yeah, he was in there in the office. Let's look at this electoral map. And y'all tell me which ones. It's an interactive map. Y'all let me know. How we gonna fix it? Damn, because right now they got first of all, I'm gonna tell you right now, Kamala needs the Obamas on her side. You have to. Like, you cannot. You cannot win the election without them. Because they have to be on, like, they have to be on. All right, y'all. So right now, this is the current map. We got 61 delegates to allocate. Let me pull it up. All right. So it has Washington is blue, Oregon is blue, California is blue, Colorado. See, this is my thing. I feel like President Trump is not going to let Arizona and Nevada get him this year. New Mexico is blue. Minnesota is blue. Illinois, blue. Virginia, blue. North Carolina is kind of pink over there. New York is blue. Vermont, New Hampshire, and Maine, they split. So based off of what I see on here, we need Pennsylvania bad, right? That'll get us at 245. So now you have, which other out of all of those do you think we could turn blue? We need Michigan and Pennsylvania, which it's funny that they had Pennsylvania. I mean, Joe Biden can't even run. He can't even go on the election trail. So if we get Michigan, we're at 260. Michigan and Pennsylvania, we're at 260. We only need 10 to win. We give Nevada to the Republicans, they're at 257, right? It'll come down to Arizona and Wisconsin. You know what? I don't know how we would do that. If we did that, we don't even need Arizona or Wisconsin. We won't even need Arizona or Wisconsin if we steal North Carolina. Whitley, when has Ohio been blue? When has Ohio been blue, Whitley? You know you wrong. We just need Michigan, Pennsylvania, North Carolina. Now, will the folks from Pennsylvania be mad because if they feel like he was made to if they feel like Joe Biden was made to step down, will they be mad and not vote? Georgia is not. You know who they need to get? Stacey Abrams. What's Stacey doing these days? The only thing I don't like about how they be doing my girl Stacey is they only she's only 50 years old. Stacey Abrams, she needs to be in that cabinet somewhere. If I'm her and I say, Kamala, I'm gonna help you get elected, but I want Secretary of Education or Secretary of something, HUD. Give her HUD. Housing and urban development. The Pennsylvania governor is the possible VP pick. Well, that's the only way. That's the only way you're gonna win Pennsylvania. You better pick them. We need Pennsylvania. Why does people keep saying we need somebody with foreign policy experience? Kamala been with all over the country. But I feel like Stacey Abrams needs a seat at the table, right? Because I would be pushing money to her. It's kind of late right now, right? What is it? We're in July. You need to be pushing Abrams about $3 or $4 or $5 million so that she can register all these black folks for the election. Send her $4 or $5 million. Just like you need to send somebody $4 or $5 million here in North Carolina as well, so they can register these young black kids to vote. There's so many HBCUs in North Carolina. What we got? We got North Carolina A&T. We have Johnson C. Smith. We have North Carolina Central. I would be utilizing the HBCUs in North Carolina. We have Bennett College. I think Shaw is getting ready. Bennett's College, Fayetteville State University, Elizabeth City State University, Winston-Salem State. Like, I would be utilizing these HBCUs and sending them money to get out here and register these folks to vote. I would call it the 2 million campaign, like trying to register 2 million black voters or something like that. Kamala spent a lot of time in North Carolina this month, and I think she was probably in Raleigh and Greensboro, and I didn't hear from none of that. Emmett, it's not about whether or not she knows it. It's her advisors that need to know it. Jerome, it would be great to hear your perspective. I mean, I don't want to force you to come up here and all, but it would be great to hear what your perspective is. Livingston, yeah, is that in Salisbury? So HBCUs can be utilized as the stomping grounds for invigorating black folks to vote. I know Stacey Abrams, she's got the juice. I don't know what it was that she was doing, but she really like turned Georgia purple. I would be trying to figure out what it is that she was doing. Yeah. I mean, yeah, she's Divine Nine, so they need to be nudging on them, right? Because if I look at this map, it looks so red. It's It's ridiculous. Jerome, how are you?
Hey, happy Sunday. Doing well. How are you?
I'm good. Thank you for calling in. I always
Absolutely.
love to hear your perspective. Just, from a fellow HBCU alum. I wanted to know what you think about the current climate. We're looking at this map and how important North Carolina will be possibly to this election.
Absolutely. I think, North Carolina, it's no secret. It's a preferred destination for a lot of folks, especially liberals that are coming from the Upper East Coast, the Midwest, California. So it's been purple for quite some time. I think definitely this go around will definitely be blue. Um, I think your strategy is spot on. Uh, Reaching out to the 11 HBCUs here in North Carolina. Uh, here in Charlotte, I'm on the executive board for Queen City HBCUs Incorporated. We'll be hosting the largest HBCU event here in Charlotte again, Queen City HBCU Cookout. That can be a great opportunity, for the Democratic Party here to uh, be at the table and register folks to vote. There are a lot of HBCU alums and students that attend the event annually, but holistically, from a broader standpoint, I feel like there are still a lot of Americans, like a large amount of Americans, that are still very fearful of Project 2025. And quite a few of them, their mindset is anybody but Trump. And it's not Democrat or Republican, because there's a lot of Republicans, even from George W. Bush's administration, that have come out against Trump. They've got videos on Twitter. So it's bipartisan. So I don't want people to be fearful of today's announcement. Just know there's still a huge base that are very anti-Trump and what he stands for, with respect to politics and, of course, Supreme Court justice appointments and district court appointments. So there's going to be a lot of people that are going to come out and rally the vote. The DNC is going to be very interesting. A lot of people feel, of course, Kamala should be the preferred candidate, while others feel that, only a white man can defeat Trump the same way Biden did. So I'm going to trust the people that are that have that skill set, who are in the know, who are professionals within the DNC, to make sure that they get this right. But I'm excited. This is what democracy is all about. I think the
You're
DNC.
excited? You're
I
excited?
am very excited. Absolutely, I'm very excited
Why
because
are you excited? I'm scared. I
no,
was
I'm
scared,
excited.
shocked, and upset.
Yeah, I'm excited because this is what democracy is all about. And I feel like the DNC, the Democratic National Convention, which will be held in Chicago, is going to be very lively. It's going to be a lot of fun. And I encourage, everyone that's in that area to go out and support and, have a good time, but make sure your voices are heard. This is a great time for us to galvanize and get our folks registered to vote, whether they're college students, whether they're alumni, etc. But this is a very exciting time. So, don't be fearful. Just make sure you get out and vote. And register as many people as you can.
Now more than ever.
Maybe I
should get an internship this semester. I only need 1 credit. Just get a internship, just registering Black people to vote.
Absolutely. As a matter of fact, about 2 weeks ago, I got a knock on my door from a young brother. He was working with the Biden-Harris campaign, going around making sure people were registered to vote. So they've got their folks out there in the field. But
I be getting scared because they come to my door talking about Timona. I said, Excuse me, Timona, are you planning on voting for Biden? Hold up.
Right.
Whoa. Slow your roll. Don't be over here saying my name all out loud. I don't
Right.
fool
Whole
with my
government
neighbors
name.
like that. Like, yeah, I plan on voting. Don't be knocking on my door. She's like, I'm just checking.
Right.
Wait
But you
a
know what? Low key,
minute.
I,
Wait
I'm
a
gonna tell you, low
minute.
key, I did that. I did that my junior year at Jackson State for the election of '04. It's a lot of fun, you know. So, but it's not just college students that are doing it. It's adults, whether they're young alums, middle aged, senior alums. So if you've got that desire, connect with your local official and see how you can participate.
I will say this. What a time to be alive, which basically was when Obama ran for president, right? And the reason why I'll say that it was what a time to be alive is because he came to Jackson State. Do you remember that happened in 2008?
I do, yeah.
And it's crazy because you know that as the state of Mississippi, you know that you're not going to turn Mississippi blue, right? But he still came to Jackson State, and I think we had like over 500 students that were making phone calls and campaigning on his behalf, and that was such an invigorating moment because everybody, when it was actually called that he won the race, everybody ran out onto the plaza screaming to the top of their lungs.
Wow.
Like everybody were just screaming, like the whole yard was just going absolutely crazy, right?
That's
Just
amazing.
from
That's amazing. Yeah, because I've seen videos from like A&T and from the AUC and Howard on election night. I've never seen the videos from Jackson State, but that's amazing
That's
imagery.
because we went to Freelon and we was cutting up.
But I'll say, if Kamala is the preferred candidate, she definitely needs to choose someone with a certain amount of political muscle. Um, it doesn't necessarily have to be someone moderate, but it has to be a white male who has connection with that white base, because it's that white base is real. And as we saw in 2016, when Hillary ran against Trump, white women overwhelmingly voted for Trump. So it has to be a choice or a pick uh, that resonates with that base, that white male, white female base as well.
Right. And that's why I said an older white male with military
Let's not
experience.
discount
Even though, I mean, Kamala has experience with foreign. I mean, she's literally the vice president of the United States. She has some foreign policy experience. I mean, she's been all over the world, right? And yet we
right.
still hear from people, we need somebody with foreign policy. We need somebody with foreign policy. It's like, what?
Well, I want to address that. You put someone's comment on the screen with respect to Obama. Obama never said that the HBCUs were irrelevant. I remember that specific interview or interaction that he had at Southern University with that student. And he was essentially holding HBCU graduates accountable with respect to repaying student loans. I remember when I worked in the financial aid department at Jackson State, I got an opportunity to learn a lot of ins and outs when it came to federal funding. And a lot of it was based upon the number or percentage of your graduates or former students who were repaying their student loans. And because a lot of HBCUs have a high default rate, on student loans. That predicated the amount of funding from previous administrations with respect to how much money they were going to get. So Obama was encouraging HBCU alumni to repay their student loans. He never said they were irrelevant.
Well, there goes that answer. She went to Africa but came out of it. Any trade deals? Trade deals with what? With what respect? What trade deals do we need with Africa? Who will the Hispanic population vote for? So the Hispanic population, Jerome, do you have that clip from Dr. Umar?
Which one, about the International Coon Conference?
International Coon Conference. I'm done.
Yeah, Dr. Umar suggested that we hold an International Coon Conference for all the coons so we can help rehabilitate them and bring them back into the fold.
No! When he was talking about the black jobs and all the Hispanics that's been dropped off in Chicago and
I ain't seen that one. I could probably find it on Twitter.
No, it's in the chat.
Oh, is it? Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, as far as the Hispanic vote, you know,
it depends on what type of Hispanic it is, right? You got the
it really does.
Cubans, they vote Republican.
You got the white Hispanics, and then you got they're very they're not monolithic, just like black people. So to your point, it does definitely depend on
black people are monolithic. Black Americans, for when it comes to voting, I mean, when we looked at voting trends in the political science realm, if you're a black American, like born black American, not immigrant, but black Americans, they are majority monolithic in the sense that they vote Democratic. Now, if you are an immigrant born, or if you are like the Coon Conference that we're speaking of with what is that one guy? He's Nigerian. Though, like, some of those people are not American. Their parents were immigrants, right? And so
they're not foundational black Americans.
Right. So the foundational black Americans whose parents were immigrants, yeah, ACO, like him, or those type of people, they are not going to necessarily be monolithic in their voting. Whitley said Afro-Cuban here. Okay, so white Cubans vote Republican. Those things. Why do you think Florida is hard conservative with no worry of anything else? Because they think they're better than other Latinos.
No, so what it is when you look at those minorities like white Cubans or white Hispanics, East Indians, Asians, etc., there's a certain mindset of trying to be close to whiteness as possible, like this whiteness proximity.
Like Asians?
And
like
there's a thing that Reagan told. Reagan coined a phrase, the model minority, back in the 80s.
Yes.
And
yes.
You see that among a lot of Asian groups, quite a few Hispanic groups, etc. So, and African groups. So what they do is when these immigrants come here, they try to be as closeness, like when it comes to white proximity, by aligning to the ideologies, etc., and voting the way they vote to say, hey, I'm with you guys. But there are still quite a few minorities that don't subscribe to those philosophies, and they see the hard work that foundational Black Americans and white allies have done over the last 60, 70 years for the country. And they know that foundational Black Americans set the tone to what these immigrants were able to enjoy all these years. So To
I
me,
think
it's 50
we'll
50.
see. I think we will see a defecting of the Asian vote to Republicans. It's going to take them these 4 years for them to realize that affirmative action wasn't working against them, right?
Right.
So I think it's going to take these 4 years for them to realize that Black people are not taking your spots. Like, hey, you're taking my spot in college. They're going to learn really quick in these next 4 years since they got rid of affirmative action, right?
Well, I think they're seeing that now. You know, there have been quite a
They're
few
seeing
news
it, but
articles.
I think we need a couple more cycles of school for them to not get chosen, right? For them to.
But you know what? I think, you know, with respect to Kamala, her ticket, whoever she chooses, they gotta stay focused. They gotta stay focused on the hot button topics. It's got to be, you know, everything that involves Project 2025. You know, they're trying to give police officers full immunity. Like, are you serious? They're wanting to overturn so many things from, you know, dismantling the Department of Education, Department of Justice.
I mean,
You
let's
got
just
Trump.
keep it a buck. This is on code, right? You want to know why it's on code? It's on code because they've already dismantled the education system. Here in North Carolina, they have what's called the voucher program. So the North Carolina voucher program basically funds private school. At first it was for people who aren't able to afford to send their children to private school, right? They gave us vouchers. So it's basically a subsidized schooling, and then you just pay the rest out of pocket. But now they've expanded it to allow for everybody to utilize money from the state to go to your private school of choice. So they've already started like the defunding of education and everything like that. They've already started it.
Right.
So the Project 25, it seems like it's in line with everything else, right?
But it's, you know, there are some other thing, and see what we also, what that ticket also needs to talk about is how Trump appointed not only those superior court judges, but also those district federal court judges at an alarming rate. We're talking about conservative appointments, and that's so important because you got to look at some of the landmark decisions that they've overturned and possible future landmark decisions they can overturn. They can overturn the Civil Rights Act, the Voting Rights Act. They can overturn Loving versus Virginia. So many things that are important to everyday Americans. So that's why I said, like, whomever she chooses as her pick, they gotta stay focused. They gotta stick to the script. They gotta stick to the things that Trump has done that has unraveled a lot of positive progressive work over the last 60 years and what could be, you know, to come moving forward.
This is scary. The mandate, the Project 2025 mandate for leadership, the conservative promise. Like, I'm pretty sure that Democrats do not have they don't have anything where they go through every single thing that's on Project 2025 and have an answer for it. Like, these folks are planned out. Police immunity is insane. I wouldn't be surprised if they're trying to have him write this out as like President Trump is good for it. Just going ahead and using his presidential powers to write an executive order for stuff like this. Scary times.
So, you know, a lot of people on social media are, you know, of course, pointing to, Gavin Newsom out of California. Some people are bringing up Governor of North Carolina, Roy Cooper.
I like Governor of North Carolina. I ain't gonna lie.
I do as well. I mean, and even
this is his last I want to say this is
his
last
last term.
term.
Yeah, and to your point, he's older. He's Southern but progressive. I think he would resonate with quite a few people. But you also, even when it comes to politics, you got to look at aesthetics as well. You don't want someone too old. They have to be attractive. They have to be, they have to kind of speak the language of, kind of code switching on different space. Because,
He's 67. He's 67 years old.
right.
He's originally from Nashville, North Carolina. He graduated from the University of North Carolina School of Law, and then he has, of course, his degree from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. He's been the governor of North Carolina since 2017. He was the attorney general, like North Carolina state representative. I feel like Governor Roy Cooper would be the perfect candidate to be underneath President-elect, right? President-elect Kamala Harris, right? Is she president-elect, or do we have to wait a couple more weeks? Or can we just go ahead and say
Yeah,
president-elect?
we have to wait until the DNC.
Okay,
We
Madam
got to
Vice
wait till
President.
the DNC with respect to yeah, because with the DNC, RNC, you got to have all the delegates to submit their, votes and et cetera, for a formal nominee.
I just don't know if he has any
And
foreign.
Roy Cooper was a very well. That's more so aligned with the Secretary of State. But Roy Cooper, very staunch advocate of HBCUs, very staunch advocate of LGBTQ, minority causes, etc. So he's got the background and the resume. He's just got to do a good job of selling.
Yep, I'm on for that. I will be put me on the team, Roy. It says she's the front runner, not the official. Well, someone told me that if you don't put Kamala Harris at the top of that ticket, you're gonna have to return people's money. And I agree with this. I'm voting to be able to live in a free society. It's not going to just get real for it's going to get real for a lot of folks, not just black folks. I don't know. I feel like white people feel like they're immune to this. Like y'all aren't dying because you guys can't go to a hospital in the state of Mississippi. I wonder will the Mississippi governor accept Obamacare while Trump is in as president? I wonder if he'd be able to switch it around so that it's Trump care or something to get him to do that, because that's something that the citizens and residents of the state of Mississippi need dearly. Newsom is the Democratic nominee. If they choose Newsom, they will lose.
I don't think they will, because he's got a lot of appeal from an aesthetic standpoint, very charismatic.
They said
I
that
feel like,
they said that he's from.
again,
Isn't Newsom from California though? They were saying they need to balance the ticket with somebody from the East Coast or the Midwest. Which doesn't make too much sense, right? Obama's from Chicago. Ain't Biden from Pennsylvania?
No, he's from Delaware,
Oh, well, that's
and
East Coast.
he won overwhelmingly.
Can they put him back? Can he
But
just
you got
say
to
psych?
look like, and see, here's the thing, right? She might. Here's my thing that might be her downfall. If she chooses someone that's a quote unquote safe pick or underwhelming pick, similar to what Trump did for his VP pick, I think that's going to hurt her. Like she needs as much support from a
She
political
needs
muscle as
she
she can
needs
get.
to knock it
And
right.
if
She needs
she's
to knock it out of the park with her pick. Like it would be somebody that if she was running against them, she
yeah,
would probably lose. So like I like Obama's pick for Biden was a great pick, right? Because it balanced out the ticket. You know, Obama, black man. They tried to hail him as a community organizer. He goes and gets Biden with all his years and years in the Senate and foreign policy, went to the military, was in a war. You know, I really feel like she needs that, right? Something to balance out the ticket. And yes, we know that she's has foreign policy and foreign experience of her own, but for the sake of aesthetics, I hope she picks Roy Cooper. Edwin says Kamala needs a politically strong, respected.
I think she's got a lock on. I think she's got a lock on young votes. Like to me, she's more relatable to young people, and that's another caveat. We can't discount Gen X, millennials, all that, because they're fired up as well, and that's a prime demographic that can really help sway the election.
Somebody said Pete Buttigieg, but I'm sorry, I don't think that Pete is gonna move the needle for.
Nah, America is not that progressive just
They're
yet.
not that progressive yet. Hell, I don't even know how they're gonna do it with a woman, but we'll see. Obama
It's just
was
so
an
much rise in this election from higher education. You said Obama what?
Obama. No, Unstoppable said Obama was an awesome orator. His Audacity of Hope speech was one of the best speeches I've ever heard. So for me, it's like America don't really care about how well you talk because after Obama, they elected Trump. Pete is. Did you see that comment?
I can't see the chat.
Oh, okay.
Hey, how y'all doing?
Good. We're just getting ready to close out. You have any
Pretty good,
final
man.
thoughts?
Well, so for my folks here in Texas, our Democratic strongholds, Dallas, Fort Worth, Austin, San Antonio, Houston, parts of East Texas, El Paso in the West. Make sure you just go out there and vote. I know that's not going to, turn our state blue, but
I was gonna say red. Texas is as red can get.
well, you know what? It's more. It's more. It's a little bit more moderate now than as conservative, but I mean, just get those strongholds to go out there and vote. in which I'm doing myself also, and then basically, have a drive for people to go out there to vote for this election. I mean, we just need it. And
just let me just correct this real quick.
go ahead.
About Trump and his trade deals. So this is something that Trump did. Trump implemented tariffs, right?
Yeah.
And
they was
the
high
Trump
as hell.
tariffs on China, or the Trump trade deals that he did, actually had a negative effect on our economy, because what happens is, let's say I take an avocado and I add $1 for Trump for tariffs or whatever. Instead of the country absorbing that tariff, all they did was raise the pricing on the product that they were selling back to America. So then America absorbed all of the tariffs. Those tariffs had a devastating impact on all of the affected various economies. We just ended up paying higher prices. So China didn't actually absorb any of that. And folks are blaming Biden, not realizing that some of these things happen, meaning the inflated economy and the gas prices. All of these things are causes of Trump's implementation of all his various rules and laws and executive orders. So yeah, the tariffs on China actually had a negative impact on our economy, because instead of China actually paying them, just raised the prices and we ended up paying them.
It was a monkey move to me. It was a monkey move on Trump when he did that. So people always they complain about, when you go to the grocery store, why is my grocery bill so high? There you go.
And then on top of that, let's talk about it. A reason why we aren't able to actually change some of these things is because of the current makeup of the Senate and the House. So that's why folks complain about inflation and the economy, but we're literally under some of the things that President Trump implemented. And when Biden got to office, because of the makeup of the Senate and the House, we weren't able to push new things through.
It's basically the same concept of what happened when Obama got into office.
Except for Obama got through those. I feel like Obama's kind of he got a lot of years. He got 8 full years.
Yeah.
How you gonna fix it? You done messed me up the jobless visit. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused out here today. God ain't pleased with this. You can't do the Saints like this. Boys, I don't even know if I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm doing refund. Cause I'm doing one of me.
I'm sorry. I laugh at that every damn time. Oh my goodness. I laugh at that. That is the best one. But just looking at it, man, it's one of them things where, like, really, if you really think about it, the only time gas went down was down to almost close to
$1.99.
Yeah, close to pre-recession, right?
We had that.
That was during COVID.
In the last 2 years, we've had that. We've had it.
I promise you, I'm telling you, when I was at home during COVID, the gas station that was next door to my house, gas was selling at 99 cents.
And I will say this: food prices are absolutely ridiculous. They ain't even giving out coupons like they used to. They used to give out some decent coupons. $20 off 100 to go to Harris Teeter. Okay, I'm getting $20 off. Getting all hype.
Yeah.
Lord, this chat is off the chain. Jerome and Doc, thank you so much for coming on. Mr. Walker, I appreciate you for coming up and talking about Vice President Kamala Harris. Oh Lord. I guess this was an emergency live. So what we're gonna do is I will see you. I'm supposed to be taking a social media break, right?
That ain't happening.
What? Yes, it is. Taking a social media break, y'all. I just really I wanted to also once again because I have no way to contact any of his family. They're not even on social media, which is sending condolences to Mimi Arsenault Doucette in the passing of her brother, her younger brother, Julian Arsenault. He passed away this past week due to a worksite accident. Sending love and prayers to Ladarius Arsenault. My fasting for social media is going to be probably just Twitter and Facebook. I'll still be clipping my SWAC Media Day stuff, but I'm just taking a break for right now. Dang, 6 weeks left till kickoff. It'll probably be just the rest of this week. So I'll still be posting clips from SWAC Media Day. Unless something else happens really drastic in the next couple of days, I'm just gonna take some time. I'm getting ready to go get Braxton to get ready for school. So just everybody sending love and prayers to that family, and I pray for your loved ones and hug them every chance you get. And yeah. Y'all are off the chain.
Yeah, it's what I always say, hug your loved ones, man.
Yes, hug your loved ones. Hug your loved ones. And so yeah, unless there's another breaking news story, I will be posting my stuff from SWAC Media Day. And I will see you guys next Saturday for She Loves These SWAC Saturdays.
Yeah, I got you for this week. Woo.
So yeah. Everybody have a good evening, and make sure you get 5 to 10 people to register to vote this week.
And it made a big time, Willie. How you gonna fix it? You done messed me up the jobless visit. I done called the police because I'm doing a refund. A refund is due unto me. Don't feel like I just been abused out here today. God ain't pleased like this. You can't do the saints like this. Boys, I don't even know if I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm gonna sit out here till the police come. I'm doing a refund. Cause I'm doing one to me. How you gonna fix it?